Hi, it's Jan Beta, and today is the day I am going to finish the restoration on this Commodore 128 that I finally managed to repair. Thanks again for all your help and your comments and your cheering me up. I was about to give up on this one, but it turned out to be a really simple fault. If you haven't watched the last part of the repair, I suggest you do so. Link that in the corner there. This definitely needs some cleaning up. The case, that's what I'm going to do today. And I'm going to figure out a way to heat sink the components in there, because there are chips, like in the Commodore 64, that run pretty hot. Yeah, this definitely needs some cleaning. It's probably what I'm going to do first, and then figure out if I'm going to use this or if I work out something else for cooling the components. So first off, want to take the whole board out of the case here, which is pretty, you have to slide it like left and then get it out there, which is pretty strange. We will get it out. Okay, there we are. So I'm just going to put this into some soapy water in the shower, I guess. And the top case, I'll have to remove the keyboard probably. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, removing the screws from the keyboard to remove the keyboard from the top part of the shell here, of the casing. Aha, that's stiff. That's an interesting design. So this is pretty interesting from a design point of view. There are these little plastic tabs like this that are like washers that hold the screw that then screws through the hole. And they are angled so that the keyboard holds in the right position. So we should now be able to lift this out. Yes, we are. And there's a little LED assembly still in there. Here's our keyboard. It looks clean-ish. So here's our LED assembly. Oh, and it's just another and it's just another bracket thing that holds it in place. Okay, let's go to the bathroom and clean the case. And I am going to use this universal soap stuff, usually used for floors, and I found that it doesn't damage the plastic if you only use it briefly. Don't let it sit on there for too long. Okay, that didn't help too much for these, which it appears to be rust or something. I also want to get these adhesive strips off. I have to work on this some more. I might soak it. Anyway. So while the case is soaking and being cleaned, let's figure this out. I think I want to place the little graphics RAM extension thingo back in. That goes in here. So we can't really use this as a heatsink because the tabs are in a position that allows them to cool the chips while they're sitting flat there. And this will make this one come up significantly higher. So we have to work something out that works. And I think I might go with these. Don't know if they fit. We're gonna find out. So I think I want to make a quick test if this still works. Okay, testing in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep. I think I am going to use this. Yeah, but then it's really flat there. That's a bummer. I could use these for most of the chips here. maybe I have to cut out a piece of the RF shield to have the cooling stuff on here. So I'm marking where I would have to cut it out, like so. Yeah, it's a pretty tight fit, but this would work, I guess. So I would only have to Dremel this out. So if the other ones can all be cooled by these tabs, or I'll just get rid of the RF shield altogether, which is probably easier, and attach heatsinks to the chips directly. That's kind of a difficult decision. I think I have to figure out if I put them on top here, if these fit into the case, so I can decide. So for these black marks on there, like here you can see one, I'm resorting to some window cleaner. This is an alcoholic window cleaner, and a sponge, like a kitchen sponge with a rough side. Okay, here's the what appears to be rust or something. I think I can scrub them off with the same method too. Oh, it needs some scrubbing. Don't really know what this is. It doesn't really do anything. Scrubbing, just a tiny bit. Maybe some vinegar? Okay, I'm now trying some vinegar. Just standard vinegar stuff. Maybe that's the secret. It works for removing rust, so if this is rust, maybe this works. Yeah, it appears to do something, at least. And I don't know if it's the scrubbing or the vinegar, but it appears to come off a bit. You might think this is a bit boring. You may be right. I'm going to show you the result. So, case update. I removed all the strips of tape here with some lighter fluid, and I decided to soak this in some soapy water to get rid of the rest of the rust stains. Maybe it's blood, I don't know, but it doesn't go away easily. So I decided to let this sit in some soapy water for a while and see if that helps. Stay tuned for more amazing case cleaning. So as you can probably see, don't really know if you can see it, I had this soak in water with some cleaner and another cleaner, and I also used some lighter fluid again and scrubbed it with the sponge, but there's still these little brown marks on there. Now I'm going to try some baking soda, which is like a mild abrasive, so you can rub it in and maybe get some results with that. It might just help. Okay, so the baking soda seems to do the trick. It's a lot of scrubbing still to do, but the abrasion works pretty nicely. So I'll be right back when I have this cleaned up. The lighting is not very good in my kitchen. So while I'm at it, I'm also going to remove all the keycaps from the keyboard and clean them and clean the frame, because there's quite some dust under there. So there, I suppose this is spring-loaded like the Amiga keyboards and the Commodore 64 keyboards. So I have one container for the screws and one for the keycaps. Maybe the other way around, I haven't decided yet. Got my keycap puller. I strongly recommend using one of these. There are different models. They all basically grab the key on two sides at once, so you have an even pull. Otherwise, there is a pretty high risk of damaging either the keycap itself or the little plungers that are underneath, because the plastic is old and brittle, and yeah. did that once because I used to use a screwdriver and just poke around there and lift it up carefully. It works, but sometimes the risk is there. So it's your choice, but I highly recommend getting one of these if you're doing this. Well, speaking of brittle plastics, I accidentally broke off one of these little tabs here that hold this bracket in place that holds the, I believe it's the return key. It won't make much of a difference, but it's a bummer. Oh, and as you can see, there's something special with the spacebar, as it has two of these copper-looking springs that are a bit smaller than the other ones, and one regular spring in the middle. So, and it also has this bracket, this metal thing here that I try to get this out of without damaging it. So I've got it all apart, and this is pretty dirty. I'm just going to clean this. I'm not going to spray stuff on here directly because it would get to the contacts, and I don't want to take this apart fully because it works. So there's no need. If I would have to take this apart, I would have to remove all these screws, all these solder joints, and I don't really want that. So going to clean this from the outside and try not to get anything inside where the PCB is. And these will be soaked in soapy water and cleaned individually. These will probably get some WD-40 because they look a bit dull. So let's get it on. Okay, you go soak for a while. Then I'm gonna scrub you. So, yeah, that looks better. They were pretty corroded. Now they look like metal again. That's nice. I had these soak in some soapy water for some time, like half an hour or so. So now I'm scrubbing every individual key cap with the sponge I used before to clean the case and see where that leads us. This may seem to you like a lot of work for this purpose, and it is. But after repairing this Commodore 128, I think it is worth the effort. So some of the keys were pretty yellowed, as you probably remember from the footage before. I want to retrobright them slightly to have an even look. And to accomplish that, I'm going with this hydrogen peroxide, which is a fluid this time. I used the cream peroxide last time on the Amiga 1200 keys. You can watch that video too. Where I retrobrighted the whole case, which turned out really nicely. The keys, especially the gray ones, which are a bit darker colored than these are supposedly nearly white, they turned out a little streaky because they weren't evenly covered, I think, in the hydrogen peroxide cream that I used. So I'm going to use this stuff now, and I'm going to put it in a bag and going to mix it with some water. And yeah, let me show you what I've come up with. The chemicals between us. putting on some gloves, because this stuff, if it touches your skin, it's not nice. It's burning. It's a chemical burn basically. So you don't want that to touch your hands or anything else. Plus, you don't want this to touch your clothes or your hair or your furniture, because basically this is bleach. So you would end up with some bright spots. And if you don't want that, better avoid that. Okay, starting off with some of the chemicals. This is 11.9 or 12% hydrogen peroxide. This is what it says. Wasserstoffperoxid in German. Okay, so I put this in there generously, and then I'm going to fill up the rest with water, I guess. I'm using some warm water here. Don't know if it helps, but the temperature seems to play a little role, at least, in the process here. Okay, all nicely in the bag, and I think I'm going to put another safety bag around that and put the bag in the bag. So this should be pretty safe now. I hope it works. Cross your fingers. So I think what I'm going to do is to put these on here and some on here, and just use the RF shield and cut out this portion. So that's probably the most reasonable thing to do. Okay, decision is made. I have to cut out the metal, which is one of my specialties. If you have seen my apple pie video, you probably remember that I wasn't that good at cutting metal. But I have made some progress, and I bought some proper tools. So I just wanted to show you how nicely this case turned out after cleaning it. There's still some dirt stains here and there that I couldn't rub off, but overall it's in pretty good shape. It is a bit yellow. I don't know if it comes across on camera, because the color correction and stuff like that will make it look whiter than it actually is. These were never white, I believe. These is more like a beige, like the computer color, the 80s computer color and 90s. But I still want to give this a bit of a Retrobright, because I have some new devices I want to show you, and I have some cream peroxide left over from the last efforts. So, to the bathroom! So here's the fun story. For my birthday, I made a little Amazon wish list for my family and people who wanted to give me some presents. And on it was this thing, which is like, it's used for planting plants and lighting the plants. This is a plant light, basically, grow light. This is one of the classic models used for growing psychoactive substance containing plants. So if you order this on Amazon, you probably land on some list from some authorities. I'm not going to use it for that purpose, but it's a full spectrum light basically. And the person who ordered it was my mother, and she had no idea what I was going to use this for. She just ordered it, which is pretty nice. Thanks. This is going to be my sun. So let's see if this thing works and how it works. And okay, seems about right. I connected it with a little clothesline, and now it's sitting here. Okay. Now we need some power. Okay, now most importantly, UV protection. Okay, trying if this thing works. Wow. That's kind of... Wow, you see it flickering on camera, but it's not flickering in real life. It's just really, really bright. This should do nicely, I guess. Don't try this stuff at home, especially with water nearby. This is high voltage stuff, so be very careful, kids. I'm mostly doing this with the cream, because I don't have a container that's large enough to fit the Commodore case. So I have this cling wrapped and covered with this in green peroxide, and now I'm going to put on my sunglasses and turn on the light and see if this gets us anywhere. And I'm going to go in every half an hour and massage this slightly and change the position of the pieces slightly so it gets even. I did that last time with the Amiga and it worked pretty well, so I hope for the best for this thing. Fingers crossed as usual, so let's see. And I'm going to put the bag with the keys, keycaps somewhere here or something so it gets some light as well. And that's going to be stirred every now and then too. Okay, putting on my sunglasses and engage. So while the chemicals and the artificial sun work their magic, I'm going to cut out this thing here with my newly acquired Dremel, which isn't a Dremel but a Proxon tool. But okay, what a nice tool. Nice. Okay, that's perfect. So I am going to use some of these, which are Heatsinks with some double-sided 3M tape that is thermally conductive on the backside. I'm going to put new thermal paste on the tabs here. I'm going to bend some of them slightly more downwards. So the most heat is generated right in the center of the chip because that's where the die is with the transistors and stuff. So there's where the heat comes from. I'm usually putting one in the middle and then I'm putting some on the sides. Ideally you would use one heatsink that has the exact size of the chip. Okay, so I think that's enough heatsinks. You could fit another one on each side, but as I said, most heat is generated in the center of the chip, and I think that's okay. That's cool. The RF shield, by the way, is not. It's basically added to comply with the FCC regulations of the day. So I don't even know if these would be endangered FCC-wise today. This is not thermal paste for processors. This is more for transistors and stuff like that. It's not the stuff that they used for temperatures that are not as hot as the modern, say, Pentium. What are the modern processors called anyway? So I'm adding a bit on each tab here. Just a tiny blob. This is the stuff they originally used on these machines. It's not high temperature, but it's for the temperature range that these machines are. Okay, now to position this right on first try. Yep. That's nice. Okay, I want to bend this up because it doesn't have any extension EEPROM in there. And I'm a bit afraid it may make contact with the contacts there. So now it's just the case that's left to be taken care of, and that's taking care of itself. I may have a look if the lamp caught on fire or something. Be right back. Okay, Okay, I had this on for some time now, and I'm going to show you what I do every half an hour or so. So I have the plug here so I don't have to wear sunglasses all the time. It's turning the normal light on, and here we are. It smells a bit like chemicals in here. So what I do is to go in and slightly move the parts and move the cream on the plastic. So I massage, kind of massage the foil. That's the thing I do every half an hour or so. That's pretty important because otherwise you might end up getting streaky colors, some streaks that are brighter than the rest of the case and stuff like that. So if you want an even appearance, do it like that. I had success with this on my Amiga 1200. I did it just like that, except for I did it in sunlight and not with this new apparatus that I have now. But it seems to do the trick just fine. This is much brighter already than it was. So. So the keys turned out pretty nicely too, I guess. You can at least see that they don't have any marks of yellow, any yellow streaks on them. The gray ones are not streaked at all, no marbling. This turned out pretty nicely, I guess. So after drying a bit, I decided that the keys are not fully finished yet. There are some keys that are pretty yellow still. And you can still see that there's a little color gradient from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to put them in a bag again with some of this stuff and some water and let them sit there overnight, I guess. The case, on the other hand, turned out pretty nicely. Let me show you. So here's the bottom case. That's the original color because the insides are the original color because they are not exposed to UV light. So and this is the outside, which looks pretty much exactly the same. There's still some of those little rust stains. I don't really know what it is. You saw me trying to take that off and I failed. But I guess if you don't know, this is the bottom case, so it's going to be hidden. I can live with that. Same with the top case. Turned out pretty nicely. It's the same color inside and out. So yeah, you can see the color from the bottom case matches the color of the top case. So what I'm going to do is to put the PCB assembly with the RF shield back into this. I'll be back when it's finished. So I really wanted the heatsink stuff to work with the RF shield, but look at this. The tab here is just barely making contact and there's no way to other than maybe put a sponge on here or something that really presses on the chip. So yeah, there's a couple of other chips too, like these here, that don't make very nice contact. So I decided I am going to add individual heatsinks, just like with this one. And I'm just gonna leave the RF shield out. It won't make a big difference. The RF shield is basically only there to comply with ancient FCC rules. And if you are not planning on listening to AM radio anywhere near the computer while it's running, you won't run into any problems. this is an EEPROM. This won't get as hot. I think the EEPROMs are alright to not heatsink because they don't run hot. The mask ROMs run pretty hot. The old MOS mask ROMs are pretty, they run pretty hot. So I'm going to leave the heatsinks off the EEPROMs here. I'm going to put one on this one like so. So pressing them on there. And repeat. So I'm just gonna cut to when it's all finished, I guess. Ta-da! All the main ICs, and I put 3 on the SID because it's a pretty rare Rev4 AR, which allegedly means advanced resonance. These sound a little bit different than the other 6581 SID sound chips. So I'm going to be pretty careful with that and put some extra heatsinks on there. Maybe it makes it live a bit longer. So yeah, that's all I'm going to do about the heatsink situation for now. So I'm going to leave out the RF shield. I'm going to leave out this extra little RF shield because it doesn't fit anyway because of the protruding VDC chip. And yeah, otherwise this should be fine this way. Nice. Now I can put the screws back in. And it's still working. I have my pole position cartridge inserted. I didn't have anything else at hand at the moment, so the chips get warm. The heat is spread out on a larger surface, so it doesn't get as warm on one spot. And if you feel the sides of the chip that are protruding there, they don't get warm at all. Yeah, but overall I'm quite satisfied with the result, I guess. I'm not making any scientific measurements here because that's pretty pointless with the equipment I have to test this stuff. It feels good. It's warm, but the heat is spreading out. So if these wouldn't get warm, you would have to make sure that they make thermal contact. They get slightly warm, and that's all right. So the air can flow over these and cool the chips, take away the heat from the chips, which is the purpose of this. Okay, I finished retrobrighting the keys, and there still are some gradients visible, for example, on this key here. Some of them still are a bit yellower than before, I think, but I'm going to call it a day for now because they haven't changed. I was soaking them in peroxide for hours, so that's good enough for me, I think. Let's put it back together. And usually I would take a photo of the keyboard to know where the keys go, but luckily, you might remember I got another Commodore 128 for the repair to compare stuff. So I'm just using that as a reference, and everything's gonna be great. Look at how yellow this is in comparison with the other one. Ta-da! Wow, the thing has a lot of keys. On a positive side note, I didn't lose any of the springs. It looks brighter than before, definitely. Still, there's some discoloration going on, but it's very, I don't even know if you can see it on camera. It's pretty subtle. So I'm quite satisfied with how this turned out. Everything seems to work, and especially the gray keys don't have any marbling or any stripes in them or something like that. So the method with submerging them in the liquid peroxide works pretty well for them, obviously. Okay, let's put it back in the case and see how it looks all together. Excited. Okay, the LED assembly is put together like this. This thing goes like this, and it sits here, and it holds down the LED between these pins here. So, like so. Like so. So that's how it works. I actually had to look at the footage from before I disassembled it. Okay, let's add the keyboard assembly and put it all back together. Yay! Now look at that! There it is. Let's see if it still works. I hope it does. Okay, moment of truth-ish kind of moment. Let's see. Yay! So that's it for the Commodore 128 restoration. I'm going to be back soon with some videos with me testing some special software for the Commodore 128 and looking at other models and exploring the machine in general. For now, I'm pretty satisfied that this is working, that the case is back together, that it's cleaner than before, and thanks for sticking with me through this adventure. If you haven't seen the other parts, check them out. I'm gonna link the repair parts in the corner there. I basically destroyed this thing accidentally and had to repair it, which was quite a hassle. And oh, I think I put a key in the wrong way. Okay, there we are. Now, if you want to support me, check out my Patreon page, check out my other videos, give this a thumbs up, comment on this, share this, subscribe to my channel if you like stuff like this. There's much more retro computing stuff going on here. Thanks for being here, thanks for watching, hope you liked this. Hope to see you again on my channel. I'm Beta. See you next time. Bye!